Welcome to the Royal Banter Royal Rewind, and this is episode 2 of our podcast, and it's been a really busy week this week. I'm Robyn and this is Tilly, and it is May 10th, and we jump straight into the VE celebrations.
So on May the 4th, which was Monday, we had the military parade and flypast. So on May the 8th, 1945, victory in Europe was announced. So this was against the Nazis. So nothing to do with Japan or anything like that. It was Victory in Europe Day. And more than 1 million people poured onto the streets of London, with estimates indicating that around 100,000 gathered outside Buckingham Palace alone. We know from the photos and everything at that time that the royal family made multiple appearances as the crowd kept calling for their king to come out, who had stood by them along with Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and even Winston Churchill took to the balcony.
This 80th celebration with their military parade, they had 1,300 servicemen and women, and of that they had the NATO allies and especially the Ukraine members as well. They haven't given an estimate to how many were there on May 4th, but they do say that there was thousands that were outside Buckingham Palace, and that although it wasn't the fervour wasn't as high as the 1945, it was pretty high, and they loved to see the royals that came out on the balcony this time as well.
King Charles III, Queen Camilla, the Prince and Princess of Wales, along with their children, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, Princess Anne and her husband Timothy Lawrence, and the Duke of Kent, all gathered on the balcony to witness the 23-plane flypast by the Royal Air Force featuring the red arrows. We usually only see this for Trooping of the Colour, so it's nice to see this twice in 1 year. It was also great to see the Duke of Kent at this event as more of an adjacent royal. He is the last remaining royal to have participated in the VE celebrations in 1945 when he was just 9 years old. And now in 2025 has pursed, well, not now in 25, but he pursed a military career, graduating from the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst in 1955 and serving in the British Army for over 2 decades, including overseas deployments.
Yeah, he is technically still called a working royal, although he has stepped back quite a lot. He's 89, I believe.
He'd be 89 if he was 9 he'll be 90 later this year.
So he's quite old, and he still does a number of engagements. He did one in overseas not long ago as well, so it was lovely to see him there as well.
Yes. Prince Edward, William and King Charles were also all in military uniform, with Edward representing the military along with the Duke of Kent, Prince William representing the RAF, the Royal Air Force, and King Charles representing the Navy.
Yeah, that was one of the things that's been really interesting to note, that there's been a lot of controversy about, is Princess Anne been wearing her mother's uniform that she wore in 1945, and it's actually not true. She is wearing her own uniform from the Volunteer Corps. She's a much higher rank than her mother was, but they are of the similar army corps, the both of them. And one that a lot of people haven't noticed, but now it's picking up on, is that King Charles, having been in the Royal Navy, has the same uniform as his grandfather George VI, from when he was on the balcony. Getting the Georges mixed up.
That's all right. So after they were on the balcony, the day was done for Charlotte and Louis. Louis, of course, had been his adorable self, imitating his brother's hair flick, removing fluff from his father's uniform, and not as solemn as, probably the event called for, but who can ask a 7-year-old to be solemn? So I think, he brought a little bit of fun to the event.
He also happened to say what the lip readers and everybody is saying is that he turned to his dad and said, "I thought this was supposed to be fun." And his father looked at him very endearingly and said, "It is, son."
Yeah, not quite probably a 7-year-old's idea of fun. But for the rest of us, it was fun to watch him. And we always love when Prince Louis comes out for royal events, always providing some light-hearted entertainment.
Moving on from that, Prince George after, as Tilly said, the other two had gone inside. And then Prince George was undertaking probably one of his first very official engagements that he was aware of, and he went to an inside garden party with his parents because it was pouring with rain that day, had been very, very cold, at that time after the event, and met with the veterans.
Yes, apparently George very excitedly asked one of the veterans who had joined the Merchant Navy in 1944 if he had ever seen a U-boat and if he had been shot at. The very kind veteran, Doogie, I think his name was, responded that he hadn't been shot at, but he had seen one of the U-boats actually been caught by a depth charge, which impressed George. And the veterans all had wonderful things to say about him on his first event. So I think this is a great introduction to royal life for him. But, he is 13 this year, so I think we won't see this as a norm moving forward, but they'll pick select events where it's appropriate.
Yeah, I think they've been very careful in slowly introducing him to royal events and not overwhelming him and letting him gain some confidence while he's doing it with his parents. So I think it's a great way to go, actually.
Mm.
So, it was a great day, and there was a lot of kindness shown because it was so cold by King Charles, and we saw the Duchess of Edinburgh handing out blankets and putting them on the veterans that were sitting there, hot water bottles. So it was a great day, a mixture of veterans and the royals, and it was wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant by the whole armed forces.
I mean, a typical English day. If you have an event in England, it's going to do what it did. So I'm glad that it all went ahead, and I'm glad that they were able to do the royal fly past, that the weather didn't interrupt that. And I think it was a great day for the beginning of the VE celebrations.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on from the VE celebrations, May 5th saw Queen Camilla, who opened the poppy exhibition at the Tower of London. And this is one I've always loved. I loved it when they first did it, and I absolutely adored it this time as well. It was absolutely stunning, and I think if you're in London until November the 11th, you've got one day, get there. Don't miss it. It's well worth having a look at.
What do you mean by one day?
It finishes on November 11th.
So you've got the next 9 months, not one day.
It is. I'm sorry, guys. You don't have one day. You've got months.
Poppies are actually a selection of them that were brought back from the 2014 exhibition there that was in tribute to the First World War, and each poppy represented one of the soldiers who had died. This one, like I said, was much, much smaller, but yes, it will be around to the 11th. Loved. I have to just have a little bit of a shout out. Camilla in her poppy accessories. Her gloves were by, and I'm going to butcher this because it's French, Elta de Gardner gloves in the poppy. I'll actually write it in the description below because I reckon I've butchered that something fierce.
And if anybody would like to extend it for us and help us with it, they are gorgeous gloves and just beautiful and perfect for the day. And she put in the last of the 30,000 poppies, which was wonderful as well and very moving.
Yes. The next day, so we've had the 5th, the 4th, the 6th. So we're on to the Wednesday now. So the King and Queen, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, Princess Anne all hosted a garden party at Buckingham Palace. This time it was actually a garden party. The weather cooperated. Welcoming Second World War veterans and evacuees from the war.
And they did still carry their umbrellas. They always do at these garden parties. It doesn't matter, But the weather, as Tilly said, looked glorious, and King Charles looked in his element. He really looked like he was having a great time with everyone. So it was the first of the 4 that King Charles does. Prince William's been known to do his, and we'll wait to see what we get later in the year from him as well.
May 8th, which was Thursday, is the actual 10th anniversary of VE Day. So this day was chock-a-block with events, which started with the service of Thanksgiving held at Westminster Abbey and was attended by all senior royals. So again, we saw the same people who attended Monday's events, but we also enjoyed the presence of the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. King Charles and Prince William both laid wreaths on the grave of the unknown soldier. They actually used roses that are available at this time of year and would have been used in the original dedications back at the VE Day.
And that is a tradition that's come forward from the Queen Mother. When she got married in 1923, she laid her flower bouquet at the tomb of the unknown soldier, and this was to honour her brother Fergus, who had died in World War I. And since then, every royal bride who's been married at Westminster, and I do believe some who've been married at other churches, their bouquets are brought across and put on that tomb as well.
Winston Churchill's great-grandson, Winston Churchill's father, delivered a reading with an even younger Churchill, Alexander, lighting a candle. I think Mum then enjoyed the Duchess of Gloucester's look very much.
Absolutely did. Loved it. Thought it was one of the standouts of the whole week for me. She is 78 years old, that lady, 79 in June, and she is absolute class. She is stunning, and she just looks ethereal almost. She's beautiful.
Yeah. On leaving the Abbey, the Princess of Wales, Queen Camilla, Princess Anne, the Duchess of Edinburgh, and the Gloucesters were all handed bouquets by people. They then laid these onto the Westminster Abbey commemoration of the civilian victims and children, men, women who perished or were tortured or suffered due to the war as well. It's not just to commemorate the soldiers, but also the civilians of the Blitz and other events that happened during the war.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the evening's events came to a concert called a celebration to remember, and it was held at the Horse Guards Parade, and 12,000 guests were there to see the performers, and a very memorable speech by King Charles, which we both thought was pretty amazing ourselves, didn't we?
Yeah, he read from his mother's diary, which hasn't been released to the public. We have had glimpses of other diaries of the past, Queen Victoria's and stuff, but this is the first time we've ever had kind of a glimpse at Queen Elizabeth II's private thoughts. Queen Elizabeth II, or Princess Elizabeth as she was at the time of VE Day in 1944, penned that she was so happy, her joy, her freedom, as we all know, her and Princess Margaret took to the streets of London, where were not recognized. They were anonymous among the crowds, celebrating, dancing, singing, doing a Congo line until early in the morning. And I think this commemoration of her memories of it really gave more of a poignant point to the evening. And I thought it was really good, instead of Prince Charles kind of trying to create a speech based on an event he wasn't there at, he took the royal family with the actual event. So I thought it was a really, really perfect way to remember the celebration.
Yes. Yeah, I think that he added a very personal touch by bringing in his mother, as you said. And I think it also brought not just those people on the balcony, but that they actually went down into the crowd and anonymously celebrated with the crowd like everyday people, because it all suffered through that war, as we all know. I mean, yeah, they were in castles and things like that, but the Buckingham Palace was bombed. At times, the girls were put into another castle where the parents weren't. It was a very stressful time for everyone. And Prince Elizabeth, she participated in the war, as we said, as a mechanic. So
they weren't exempt from anything. They were on rations, same as everyone else. Their cousin remembers trying to have a bath at Windsor, and of course the water line in the bath, because the water was very restricted, so you could only have so much water in the bath. The royals took it very seriously and adhered to the same restrictions that were put on the common people.
Yeah, exactly. And then it didn't end there. You'd think it would end there, but no, Princess Anne and Tim Lawrence pulled it out the bag and they went to Guernsey to celebrate the liberation of Guernsey from German occupation yesterday. And Princess Anne gave a speech. They participated in a parade. They attended a church service and they met with occupation survivors and veterans. So yet again, they've kept that going.
I think a lot of people forget that the islands of Guernsey, and there's another one and I've forgotten the name of it, were actually invaded. They were held under Nazi occupation for the majority of war. That is how close Britain came to being invaded.
Absolutely. And I think, as time goes on, people forget that, and how, like they did do a tribute to Dad's army during their concert, and they had all the retired men were still looking at the fronts in case they broke through. That's how close it was for them and how seriously they took it.
Yep, the Home Guard. I mean, if they hadn't evacuated the soldiers out of Dunkirk, there wouldn't have been the continuation of the war. And I think in Winston Churchill, in his speech when King George VI died, he said, it was under his reign that the most serious threat of invasion took place, and they helped the country hold the line.
Yeah, and he was honoured very much this week, Winston Churchill. And just harking back to the beginning of this week, Timothy Spall did a most amazing Winston Churchill speech under the statue of Winston Churchill to announce the military parade. And it was very spine-tingling, I have to say. And Timothy Spall had played Winston Churchill and the movie escapes me, but Tilly will know it straight off the back of...
The King's Speech.
Yes, I remember him from Alvida's Pet years and years ago. Till generation remember him particularly from Harry Potter, but he is a brilliant, brilliant actor. And I think we've had so much response to his speech. He is doing Winston Churchill's speech. And I think it really summed up the whole week.
Yeah, and while we're on this topics of movies, and we mentioned before that Princess Elizabeth and Princess Margaret were amongst the crowd, there is a Hollywood movie based on this. Please do not take this as fact. It is a completely fictional movie, but if you want to kind of dive into it a little bit, we'll put the name of the movie in the description.
And they also did touch on it in The Crown. And of course, again, it's not fact, but it is very sweet and very poignant about the two girls and their night together as just individuals on the street. We'll never know exactly what happened on that night unless there's more in her diary or something comes out that Princess Margaret wrote. But it is beautiful, to think that they got that night, that special night of freedom to celebrate.
Two young girls who'd grown up just like every other child and teenager in the depths of the dark of war, blackouts and things like that. They didn't get to go out. They didn't get to see much of the world. They were very confined. So this was a night not only of celebration of the end of the war, but a night to kind of relight those adult teenage fun days again.
Exactly. I agree.
Some of our best on-ground looks from the week. As we mentioned, the Duchess of Gloucester at the Westminster Abbey event. We thought the beautiful white elegant outfit with that Union Jack purse was just...
Oh, the clutch was it. Like she just pulled it out the back. I haven't been able to find yet where the clutch is from or her outfit, but we will be doing that. And Tilly will put that up as part of our fashion on, that we do on our reels. So, but it's one of my standouts. Just love it.
Yeah, I loved the Duchess of Edinburgh at the Westminster Abbey event. She was in a Balula London dress, beautiful sky blue with a Jane Taylor hat, of course. And her G. Collins diamond jewellery was spectacular. And I just thought that beautiful light blue was a fantastic colour for the event.
Yeah, I think she brought a lot of light this week.
She did. She really stuck to those pastels. We had her in pink and white gingham on Monday, in a Savannah of London, and then we had her, in the pale blue at Westminster, and then she was in pink again for the concert. So I think she very much stuck to the pastels, leaving some of the whites and blacks and the very deep colours to the Queen Camilla and the Princess of Wales. Although she was in a print dress, and I'm going to butcher this as well, Erdem, I think it's pronounced, the Canadian brand, which had a green fleck through it. It was flowers, which again she paired with a hat from Jane Taylor and a beautiful green new handbag by Sophia Habsburg. So she pulled it out. I can't criticize any of her looks this week. I think she looked fantastic across all four.
Yeah, I have to say she looked lovely. And she was actually wearing, with that pink gingham outfit that she was wearing, the Susanna of London, she was wearing again a Jane Taylor headband that Lady Louise had worn. And it looked stunning altogether, perfect. And she is a great supporter of Jane Taylor, and they are a wonderful milliner. So, if you're ever in London, they do even headbands and bows. So, like they're not out of everyone's realm.
No. I mean, we can't talk about fashion and miss out the Princess of Wales. She did a complete array of repeated looks this week. The Monday look was nearly a complete like for when she met the South African president back in 2022 in the beautiful Amelia Wickstead plum dress. This was my standout look. This is the one that I probably liked the most just because of the beautiful colour. And I think the tailoring was beautiful. I would have preferred it back with the burgundy shoes that she had when she met the president, but I mean, it's a very, very small thing.
Yeah, I also really loved her at the concert. I adored the fact that she gave homage to the Jewish people wearing, Tilly, do you have it off the top of your tongue? I'll find it. No, I don't have it here. We'll put it in
Hold on one
below. I
second.
can't believe I don't have it. It starts with a C. It's in my list of things, but she has worn the 5 faux pearl strand before, and I think she's
Susan
now...
Claflin.
That's it. And also now is wearing the earrings, which I absolutely adore. And I would kill to get that pair of earrings as well. I think they're absolutely stunning. I love the whole jewellery set. And people are saying she did a homage to Charlotte by wearing the bow. I'm not sure she did. I think that was just an ensemble choice. But, I can't say for sure that wasn't the case. But people are sort of saying that. I just don't know if I believe that.
Catherine has worn this bow before. It's a jigsaw bow. She's worn it for other events before. I don't think it's an homage to Charlotte. This is the same exact look that Princess Catherine wore back in the coronation concert. So she had to change it up a little bit. I prefer it styled again in the 2022 concert with her hair down and the beautiful diamond earrings. If she'd worn her hair down or up in a ponytail, something like that, I am not a fan of the bow just because, I don't know, there's just something about the bow for me that I think women over 15 shouldn't wear it. I know that's against the current fashion trends, but for something for me, it's not something I enjoy. But to say that, she looked fantastic. We've seen this outfit multiple times. She did what was kind of reported earlier in the year is that she's taking the concentration off her outfits, especially at these poignant events, which are meant to symbolize something else by repeating. But I do hope we see something new soon because it has been a very full year of repeats. And we do hope that we see something new for Ascot or the dripping of the colour or something like that. But, it's a first world thing.
Yeah, look, I liked it, and I liked her hair back, and I liked her hair in the bow. I thought she looked gorgeous in it, and I hear what you're saying, but I think she pulled it off, so I think that's not a problem at all. And I loved her hair at the Westminster Abbey church service. I love her hair up. I love how they do her hair because she has got fantastic bone structure, and it made her look amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
That was
again, I sound like a terrible
you know,
person.
here
But
we go. You're going to complain again.
she had that beautiful black fascinator, which was a Sean. Oh, it's escaping my brain now. Sean, give me 1 second.
The fasciato.
Sorry, it was a Juliette Bottarella fascinator, which we saw back at a Remembrance Day event. I loved the black. I loved her black and white outfit, but I thought the nude accessories pulled away from it. I think it would have been better if she'd had a black bag and black shoes just to tie it all together rather than the nude shoes and nude handbag. But again, she looked fantastic. She had on the Collingwood pearl earrings, which she wears more on the solemn, not as much solemn, but more on the important events.
And there they were Princess Diana's, correct?
Yes. And it's triple strand pearls on Monday's event underneath the Amelia Wickstead plum with the RAF brooch.
I loved Princess Anne in the uniform. I think she looks fantastic in military. I know it's not, like a fashion statement, but for me, it's a great look, and I think she pulls it off. And she is the gold stick next to Charles, and she just shows that. And to me, they both, harkened back to 1945 together, standing on that balcony. And who better to do that than the two of them? I actually really, really loved, her garden party one. We've seen it a few times. I like it. It's nice. But I loved her at Westminster Abbey. She wore a hat that was not dissimilar to hats her mother wore, and she looked beautiful in that hat. And she also has done it at Guernsey as well. She looked great. She's got away from the little ones and really pulled out these big hats, which I think are really nice on her.
I feel like it's a little bit more sophistication as women get older. I feel like that you naturally need a full hat instead of a fascinator, and I think it suits Princess Anne really beautifully.
Yeah, so I really liked that too, and I found that a great favourite as well.
All right, well, we focused a lot today on the VE celebrations, which is, of course, what's happened this week. We will be back next week with a little bit more of a royal roundup, focusing on the different events that have happened. We'll look back at the Prince and Princess of Wales tour that took place in Scotland. We may do some snippets through the week on some of the military looks we saw this week, some of our royal jewels. You never know. So stay tuned. We will be back next week.
And we will also be focusing on something we haven't had time to do this week, which is that it was the second anniversary of their coronation. So look out for that as a snippet as well, and the new portraits.
Yep. So we will be coming back to you very soon. Remember, there's no posh vibes, just top tier banter. Please like and subscribe, and we'll link everything in the comments for you.
Okay. And thanks, guys, for watching. See you later.